The biggest thing is just make sure that if you're wandering, you wander with the microphone.
Wander with the microphone.
Yeah.
So when I go off, because I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I can pull it.
We will tape it to your face.
Attach it to my beard like this.
Jen, staple gun.
Uh-huh.
We need gorilla glue tape now. Stat.
So we're just kind of going to jump into it, Chad.
Roger.
Chad is going to be our guest on podcast episode number 3.
The pressure.
Chad, are you nervous?
The pressure.
Chad is so nervous right now.
Why? Look at my face. Is it turning red?
Oh yeah, and I'm gonna take full advantage of that the whole time. By the way, you know that. Tell me, because I know the answer to this already. Why are you nervous? It's not the microphones.
I'm uncomfortable with
It's that thing right there.
It's that. Yeah, I'm not even gonna look at it. I'm gonna stare at the mic all. Yeah.
Isn't that what they tell you? And then you're an actor. Don't look at the camera. It's number one rule. Don't break the fourth wall.
So we need to put like a shiny object in here, something that I can stare at.
So for everybody listening to this on their podcast app, head on over to the Crossed Rifles YouTube channel and get to know Chad, because that's what he doesn't want you to do right now.
No.
And we're all about making sure people do what other people don't want to do. Chad, you're going to join us for our podcast episode number 3. We just want to kind of talk to you a little bit. This is going to be part of our Employees of Crossed Rifles series. I'd like to get everybody that works here on the podcast.
Right.
And just talk. I mean, honestly, just BS for a while. Somewhere between 30, I should set my timer, somewhere between 30 and 90 minutes. I don't know, something like that.
I only have like 5 minutes worth of material.
Okay, well, this will be
I'm just gonna be quiet.
Shortest podcast in history. For those of us that are new to Crossed Rifles and are finding this podcast randomly, I have to admit Chad is by far the favored employee. Customers like you the most. You don't even like that, do you?
Oh, I don't mind. I try to be nice to everybody and get along with everybody, but yeah, it's out of my comfort zone.
If Chad was any nicer, he'd be a unicorn.
Dude, for real. Right? People come in. I didn't tell you this. I need to message her back too, because I never answered. It was like a weekend.
Right.
We've got a customer that messaged the page, I think it was Sunday, and asked, when does Chad work? I need to come buy a magazine.
Really?
Dude, she was just looking to buy a mag. Like, none of us are good enough to sell this lady a magazine. She wanted to know when you were working.
It's a lot of pressure.
I know, right? And I'm not going to say her name because she might be listening to this. She knows who she is, but I don't want to.
See, look at that. I'm taking a defensive posture right now.
I know,
because
right?
I'm all nervous.
Yeah, you're going to start sweating, and you're going to have to like wipe your forehead 7 times. It does get hot in here.
My bill will start like...
These lights start making it warm. When we get into the 30 and 40 minutes, it gets a little warm. But yeah, no, so we do our Facebook Lives every Saturday morning at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
And Chad's big thing is he doesn't show his face. And we don't show your face on the Facebook Lives. But here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
Breaking ground today and today only.
It's a step forward.
Yeah.
Progress.
I mean, congratulations.
Yay.
You're a good looking dude. I don't know why you don't want to be on video.
I don't know about that.
No, I'm going to make him more nervous.
I don't know about that. I got plenty of pictures to prove wrong.
So let's talk about you. Dave and I, you haven't had a chance to listen to the episodes. We actually haven't released any to the public yet.
Oh, okay.
And we've just kind of given some of our background. Tell me, like, how did you end up here? How did you end up standing here doing this podcast? Give me the whole history.
You want like 53 years ago?
Oh, sure, man. Give it all to me. Where are you from?
No, I'm from Northwest Ohio, around this area.
Okay.
All
right.
Grew up here, went off to the service. 27 years later.
I was going to say, if you gloss over that, I'm not going to let you. 27 years in the military.
Yeah, it was actually, I tell people 27 years. It was actually 26 years, 11 months, and 26 days. They would not let me go to my birthday, which is understandable. Everything was on the first.
It was the same for me, actually. Yeah. I did 2 6-year contracts, almost to the date. When I signed my second contract, it was almost to the date to my first one. And I did 11 years, 11 months, and like 20 some days. Yeah. I didn't do 12, but I tell everybody 12 years. So I get that.
So hopefully I get a pass for 4 days.
Yeah. We'll give you the 27. What branch?
The Coast Guard.
Coast Guard. The interesting thing is, and you probably don't know this. You and I had talked. We'll talk about how you became an employee here, but you were a customer first, like most of the employees here.
Yep.
Customers first. I hire people that I want to be around, and I hire my best customers. That is probably a bad decision on that second one, because you were paying like retail for things, and then I hired you. Now you get employee discount.
Yeah.
Which probably works out well for like you and the wife, but for me, on the other hand, I knew you were in E7, and I never knew what branch. I had you pegged as a Marine. Did I ever tell you that?
That's interesting, because before I went into the Coast Guard, I was getting ready to sign up for the Marines.
I don't know. Maybe it's your stature. You're a bigger guy. You're tall. You're fit, right? And I don't. Yeah, fit-ish. Yeah, it is fit. And I tell everybody, Chad's the nicest guy, but he's also one that'll roll you over, the easiest out of anybody here, right?
I don't know.
Look at him turning red.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But.
No, I had you pegged as a Marine. Yeah. So it's one of those. I don't. And I found out you were in the Coast Guard. Very intriguing. Smallest branch.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everybody.
Pretty much.
Like you and Dave and like Bill. You three ran the Coast Guard, right?
No, I had nothing to do with running the Coast Guard. I just tried to do the best I could.
Yeah. How many people do you know how many people are in the Coast Guard? That's information.
I want to say it's in between like 42 and 45,000.
That blows me away. Isn't there?
I want to say that
with reserve component and all, isn't there something like 1 million in the Army? Is it that much? It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I don't know. We're totally making all of those numbers up. Everybody here
don't quote
just
me,
made up those numbers on the spot. But yeah, it blows me away. Everybody in the Coast Guard tends to kind of know each other. If you spent 27 years, you get to. It's pretty narrow at the top.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting. What did you do in the Coast Guard?
I was a flight mechanic. I worked on 65s, the Dolphins, for majority of the time. I was a C-130 drop master for 3 years.
You did some cool stuff.
What does that mean to the uninitiated? What a drop master does?
Oh, I got to recollect now. You're putting me on the spot.
Break it down to somebody that doesn't.
I was just part of a C-130 transport crew that we would go out and do search and rescue. We would train to push dewatering pumps and I can't think of it now. Life rafts. Different kits. I can't remember the names of the kits. And we would open up the back end of the C-130, and when it was time to push them out.
You would train pushing out like life rafts to
they were
boats that were sinking. People that needed that shit.
Yep. That's what we were trained to do. Yep.
So I knew you did search and rescue for a while, and I always found that intriguing. Like I've seen your helmet, and you had the axe. You brought that axe in at one point. You probably don't call it an axe, but it's like a huge blade with a pointy end on it. So
yeah.
I don't know what it's called, but it's an axe for all intents and purposes.
Crash axe.
Yeah.
That's what they use them for, yeah.
So I always thought that was cool. The interesting thing about the Coast Guard is you think that they don't go overseas.
We're all over the place.
I was say it's not entirely true.
Yeah.
You spent some time out, in the country, but outside the country. You spent some time in Hawaii.
Yep, I was out there. Yeah, it was all over.
This is some bullshit. You went to Hawaii. Dave, you went to Hawaii.
6 years there.
I did 90 days TDY. Does that count? I enjoyed the time. It doesn't. I had to work most of it.
It's different. It's different when you live there, and that's home, and you get to see all the cool stuff that's not tourist stuff.
And you're not. Depending on the TDI duty you're on, sometimes you're actually working 7 days a week.
Right.
Sometimes it's just a paycheck to go on vacation. We all know about those too, but yeah.
No, it was a cool experience. Loved every minute of it.
How long did you spend in Hawaii?
4 years. Yep.
Out of 27 years, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. 4 years out there, and it was really cool.
Where were you stationed out there?
Barbers Point.
Man, that's a beautiful beach over there. They got cabins over there we used to rent all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I was up on Schofield, so.
That
must be on Oahu.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah, Oahu.
Yeah.
We would go to the commissary there at Schofield and get our stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure we had food in our belly.
What, so you weren't a watercraft guy. You were an air guy.
We
in the
would
Coast Guard.
deploy on the back of cutters. But,
So you
but
obviously
majority
you've
of
been
the time
on
we were
ships and boats.
Yeah, majority of the time we were at on land, I guess, if that's the right terminology.
On land and in air.
Yeah, working and
I feel like
flying. And
one of the branches has that on land, in air, and in sea or something. They sing that in their song.
It's the SEALs.
Oh yeah, that's the model for the SEALs.
Yeah,
and we don't have any of those here,
That's
so I'm
the
not worried about
acronym.
irritating them. Yeah.
No, yeah.
So
That was cool.
how long ago did you get out?
September will be 7 years.
It's crazy because you just a second ago were like, oh man, I got to remember that.
Yeah.
I remember being a young sergeant and talking to my grandfather who was in World War II, and he was a tech sergeant. I believe he was an E6. I think there was a tech sergeant that was like an E6 rank.
Right.
So he had a little bit of rank behind him in World War II, stationed in Japan. They were on one of the first boats to come in after the armistice was signed. And I remember him not remembering things. Like and you see these old guys that salute weird, like, well, that's not how you salute. And also not remembering facing or like specific nomenclature. And I remember thinking, how do you forget that? I will always remember that.
I have done several ceremonies with the AMVETs where I'm in charge and trying to remember all that shit.
Yeah.
Is like fire and forget. I haven't used it it was 2015 when I got out, so it's been 7 years, and it was probably 5 years since I had gotten out that I did my first ceremony, and I'm just remembering that their left and my left are different, and all that. And it used to be so, because I was a AIT instructor. I marched Joe around all day, every day.
Right.
Yeah, and you think, I'll never forget that.
Dude,
I will
forget it.
Yeah.
That's what's weird is I remember a lot about marching in boot camp.
Do you really?
Yeah.
And that's not your thing.
That was
I was
like,
literally a drill sergeant.
to the right oblique.
And
to the left oblique.
wow.
It's like, I remember all that.
I've been out for 11 years. February 2012 was the last time I was in uniform. And it's the same thing. So the MVETs, and we just did the Memorial Day parade here in Bryan.
Yeah.
And I was carrying, I don't remember what colors. I was carrying, maybe it was color guard. I was carrying something. So I was up front, and one of the guys said, and they were way off step, right? So I was the youngest by a couple decades. So some of these older guys, their gait isn't quite what it used to be. And he said, we need a count. So I started calling just a really simple, your left, right, left. It wasn't actually calling cadence. And I screwed up a couple times on that. I was a literal Army drill sergeant. That's
when you used to call
in the word drill and ceremony.
When you called cadence every day, marching Joes around, and it was you knew 150 of them.
I know 3.
Yeah,
and I will screw them up. Yeah, it's crazy what you forget.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
But it's just life goes on. You end up other places. So how did you end up here? You 27 years.
Yeah,
we left Northwest Ohio.
Yeah, we retired up to Michigan, and then 3 years we moved back here.
How long have you been back here?
Coming on 4 years.
You've only been back about 4 years.
Yeah, almost 4 years.
How long have you been working at Cross Rifles?
3, I think.
I was gonna say, I did not realize that you were that new-ish back to the area.
Yeah. So yeah, I got back here, and you try and make decisions like, hey, we should move closer here. So we did some home looking, and it seems like the place that we wanted to move closer east of Bryan. It's not meant to be.
Yeah.
I think we're supposed to be in this area. So.
Yeah. You ended up back here for a reason, right?
Yeah, I can't explain it, but that's,
So what a lot of people don't know is you were the first real employee at Cross Rifles.
I was.
We had a kid working. He was 16 at the time, 15. He couldn't even drive when I hired him. And he was just like, he would come in and dust and like put boxes away. It was just me. I was the sole employee at the time, and I would log firearms in, and we were a small gun shop, so I had plenty of time. I used to watch Netflix. I used to put Netflix on behind the counter while I was logging guns in, and we'd go like 3 or 4 hours without a customer walking in. And then you came in and you were the first real, like you could run background checks and do paperwork and actually handle the firearms. And that was, I stole you away from your other job at the time.
Yeah.
I think I actually approached you too. I don't think you came to me asking for a job.
No.
You were just a
walked
customer.
in,
Like, hey.
I purchased that firearm from you, and I don't remember what it was, but, and then the next time I came in, I think I was looking for a spare magazine or something, and you slid this piece of paper in front of me that basically duties of employment.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, you slid, and you're like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "You offer me a job, dude?"
Uh-huh.
And you were like, "Yeah."
You were one of our first regulars.
Oh, was I?
Yeah, I think so. Because you would wander in about once a week, once every 2 weeks.
I think it was.
And we would just bullshit.
I think I had Wednesdays off. I was in every Wednesday.
Yeah.
I think that's what.
Yeah, you would wander and buy a box of ammo or something, or you'd get a gun here and there.
Yeah.
Speaking of guns, let's get right into it.
Oh boy.
This is why we have
Here we go.
Chad.
The Chad. Cap on.
What is your preferred brand? If I told you could only ever get one brand of firearms,
I like CZ.
I was wondering the whole time what you were going to say.
Don't ask me how to say the company's name.
CZ. It's CZ USA. That's how you say it.
It's from they originated in the Czech Republic in 1918.
A long time ago, World War I-ish.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Yeah.
Dave, I asked you the other day what one gun, if you would only allowed to have one gun, what's your brand though? Is it that gun? Would you still settle on that one, or what's your preferred brand?
So looking at this from, I want a brand that I can have a pistol, a fighting gun, and a 22. Mm-hmm. So looking at it that way, I don't know.
I think that was a big lead up too. I don't know.
That is tough. Yeah. Ruger makes serviceable everything, which would be fine. Springfield does as well, so maybe one of those, because Glock doesn't make rifles and stuff.
No, Glock makes the same gun in different sizes and calibers.
They do.
Glock makes one item.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's got a longer barrel or a shorter barrel.
Or a bigger round barrel or a tinier barrel.
Goes bang every time.
Yeah. So one of those, probably Springfield. If I had to have a pistol, either an XD or some kind of 1911, probably an XD and 9mm. Rifle, some AR thing, and 22. Yeah, those things.
I would say CZ is my preferred.
Yep.
But there are other firearms that I just want to be able to shoot it well.
Well, I'm going to
maybe I'm lazy because I don't want to work on certain firearms and put a lot of rounds, but dry fire, that handles most of that. But
we had talked about this in episode number 2 about Dave prefers the Glock 19, and I think that I landed on a Glock 19 as well. Neither of us, though, would say that's the most ergonomic firearm for us, and it's just because of tens of thousands of rounds. My famous Glock, the one that I throw in classes and I do all kinds of crazy things. It's got a different Cerakote pattern every couple months. I don't know, 20,000 rounds. I've replaced the barrel. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Replaced the springs a dozen times, the trigger, and all that other stuff.
Right.
So going back to that, you get the rules are. And we need to establish these rules so we can actually ask guests, because we kind of made this up on the last one. The rules are, you as an American, you get to pick one firearm. You can't really trade it in later. So you don't get to trade this one firearm later if the situations have changed. You get to pick one firearm. That is your firearm for the rest of your life. Kind of like a video game. You've got one weapon slot. And once you fill it, that's it. You just got to find new ammo.
Is this like rifles?
What's
pistols?
your gun? All of them.
Oh, Lord.
Is it a C? And the interesting thing here is to see, will it be a CZ?
Is there a little asterisk? I can say if.
Well, tell me, and I'll tell you if that's against the rules.
The one that I'm carrying today is the one that I would choose, because I'm able to shoot it. I have a lot more improvement to do, but I shoot it fairly well right out of the box.
CZ, obviously.
It was a CZ, the
75.
P10.
What is it?
The P10.
P10.
Yeah, which is a lot of people say it's a Glock 19 clone.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, it's similar size.
Similar size and everything, but I shoot it fairly well, and that's what I would.
I'm an AR guy. I initially thought, before Dave answered Glock 19, that I would say an AR of some type. Probably a build of my own, or like my Maxim PDX or something like that. And then I said, well, no, I could be convinced to be the Glock 19, because with a Glock 19, I'm proficient enough I can take a bunch of other people's shit. But that kind of defeats the purpose of you can only have one firearm. So we don't know what the rules are in this game.
Okay.
We're going to make them all up. It's kind of like the old, what was the old TV show? All the rules are made up and the points don't matter.
Right.
We're going to do that here.
Right.
But so yours is a CZ P10.
Compact, full-size.
Doesn't matter.
The subcompact doesn't fit well in my hand.
Right.
But yeah, it's similar to size.
Banana hands.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
You got Tony Robbins hands.
Well, you know,
what's
Chad,
going on with
size
these.
matters. So
I don't know what's going on with these things. So.
yeah. Well, you are what, like 6'3"?
No, I'm not that tall. I think I pushed 6'1".
Well, that's just because you're getting
one
older.
and a half-ish.
Yeah, you were probably 6'3" at one point. You're shrinking. Chad is you're not the oldest employee anymore.
I am not, thank goodness.
You're the second oldest employee.
I am.
You can keep that. We used to make fun of Chad all the time because he was the oldest employee for a while. Again, the one that will, the oldest but most fit.
Fit-ish.
Fit-ish.
Yeah, we gotta say
yeah,
fit.
no,
Fit-ish.
I don't know that we can say that anymore. Is Greg the most fit now?
Doing that hike, I was keeping up with him.
Yeah. I mean, Greg, by all means, he did his 21 years in the military, and he's got his bumps and bruises, so he's not as fit as he used to be, but he's the most recent out.
Yeah.
Right? So he might be the most fit now.
I would say, yeah, I'll give the edge to him.
Yeah. And he's younger. I mean, that does count, right? He's got a little bit more of that. He can, less gray hair.
Yeah.
So
I don't think he has any.
I don't think he does either, which is bullshit.
Yeah,
Greg and I graduated high school together, and I have all the gray hairs. Oh, he's a young buck? That means I'm a young buck. That's outstanding. I will take that. Yeah. So concealed carry, or my gun, would be the CZ. What about your home defense load up? What does that look like? So what if...
It depends on the situation, the scenario. Where we live, I have a different philosophy of defending myself and my family. And
that has to be discussed.
Yeah.
You live in a housing addition.
Yep.
We had discussed recently that Dave's situation is much different than mine, which was much different than mine before when I lived in the suburbs of Cleveland. And you've got a situation where you pick firearms based off of where you're at.
Yep.
What would be what's your preferred style? Would it be, are you defending your home with a rifle, a shotgun, a pistol, a slingshot?
I never brought a slingshot. Do I need to get a tactical slingshot?
Nerf guns. Nerf guns with...
They make some pretty cool Nerf guns, don't they?
That way cooler than they did when I was a kid.
Yeah, and I can handle the recoil better.
My kids are 7 and 4, and my oldest is a girl, and she's into guns, but she's not into the Nerf gun thing.
Right.
Like if my kids are the epitome of, if somebody told me boys and girls were the same, I will just show them my children and say bullshit. Because my daughter is pretty calm and collected. She loves baby dolls and stuffed animals, and Luke will jump off the roof with like a sheet thinking he's going to float, right? He's just crazy.
Right.
So I'm waiting another year or two until he gets into Nerf guns. I'm pretty excited about it. Anyways, squirrel.
Yeah.
Preferred style. What do you think you're probably going to defend your home with?
Most likely my CZ.
You're going to go with handgun.
And you know what? Correct me if I'm wrong. Your sidearm gets to your rifle.
Oh yeah, we've always said that.
God forbid anything happens like that.
Chances are your sidearm, your CZ, your pistol is going to be the thing that you have nearest to you.
Hopefully it never happens.
Yeah. Statistically, chances are it never will.
Yeah, I don't want that to happen to anybody.
Right. But we train for it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best thing to do is what is the saying? Prepare for the worst and hope for the best, or something like that.
Yeah. One of my favorite stories about you is how you almost smoked one of your wife's shirts. Yeah, I'm gonna bring that up.
No,
I'm absolutely gonna bring it up. Yeah. So it was one of your wife's shirts, right?
There was so in the wintertime in the wintertime all year we if we can, we hang dry our clothes.
Yeah, why
save
run
energy
the
and all
dryer?
that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, save energy and all that stuff. And the rack was moved, and I wasn't unaware, or knowing me, my wife probably told me, "Hey, I'm going to put it here," and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, whatever."
The tone of their voice after how long have you been married?
Yeah,
30 some years.
30. Oh gosh,
I put you on the spot.
We'll be 34 this November.
34 years. So yeah, after 34 years, whatever pitch she speaks in is gone. Like it's been worn out in your eardrums.
I try to listen, and some days are better than others. I will admit that.
Is that your official excuse?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, they wore out that part of my eardrum.
Some days are better. It's funny. You say that. Like when I was in the service, I had a nickname, and my missus, she would call me by my first name, and I wouldn't answer. But as soon as she would use my nickname, I was like, "Yeah." What's up? And I'm like, "How did that happen?"
And most of our nicknames in the military are based off of our last name, and I have always found it interesting. My Army buddies' wives would call them by their last name. I always got a kick out of that. I was married to somebody else when I was in the military, not my current wife. She got like the last tail end of some of my reserve service, and but my ex-wife never called me by that was her last name. So I always thought it was intriguing when people did that. Yeah. But that's what you answer to. Yeah. And it took me a long time to answer it by my first name after I got out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's now it's okay.
Yeah.
I've gone back to that, I guess.
So anyways, you thought you were going to get out of this story.
So
it's 2 a.m.
3 a.m.
3 a.m. It's dark in the house.
3 a.m. dark in the house. Couldn't sleep. Woke up at 3 or whatever and couldn't sleep. And I'm like, go downstairs and watch a YouTube video or something. Mm-hmm. I don't know. As I come down the landing, we have their electric heat, air conditioning, electric heat. They're kind of like all
a mini
in one
split
package.
Yep.
And the temperature is like an LED. 72, 68, whatever. And it gives off a pretty good amount of light. And you're just waking up, your night vision, you can
actually see in the house.
You can actually see, even with my eyes, that, here we go. And so I come down landing, and I just see this hoodie with arms. And I'm like, what the front yard? And,
you drew on it, right?
Here's a little side note. If you're going to use your sidearm or your firearm or your pistol, get a light on it.
Yeah.
Get a light on if you're going to use it for a home defense.
Yeah.
You got to identify the baddie. And I identified the baddie, and it was a hoodie.
So you lit that hoodie up?
No, I did not.
Well, no, you lit it up.
I lit it up with a flashlight. But
you were able to identify it. I didn't mean light it up.
Yeah.
You were able to identify it.
Yeah, I was able to identify it.
So one mag dump later.
And then, your adrenaline's...
That's why you had to go to Lowe's.
Your adrenaline's a little bit up there, and you're like, oh, good. It was just a false alarm or whatever you want to call it. It was like... So have a light, identify that potential threat.
So that's interesting. I don't think it's something we've covered yet. What the first purchase for your home defense gun should be? Do we all agree that might be it?
Other than ammo?
Yeah.
I mean, because go practice.
Okay, well, ammo and magazines.
Yeah,
so I guess it's not the
go
first
practice. But your first accessory should absolutely be a white light.
What? Not aftermarket lightened trigger?
No.
Oh.
No.
Well, maybe I shouldn't say that on here because that's what most of our customers come and buy.
Yeah, I run stock triggers on all my firearms. I don't have any fancy triggers. I don't have any fancy stuff like that. If I'm laying down on a tarp and I'm shooting 600 meters, I'll drop triggers and lighten things and big barrels and all that kind of stuff. But for home defense type ranges or self-defense type ranges, it doesn't make any sense to me.
It's a diminishing return for sure.
Well, in the middle of that kind of situation, I mean, I carried an M9, which doesn't have a great trigger.
No.
And I never got to the end of a firefight and thought, I wish my trigger pull was lighter. That never ever happened.
Right.
So I don't think it's it's as important as white light and practice.
I think if the budget allows, so if you're shooting competition, so if you're going out and shooting competition, you should have a different gun. I don't want to say don't shoot competition, because maybe your budget just allows you to have a little bit of extra ammo and the gas money to drive to wherever you need. And competition is training, right?
Absolutely.
But you probably shouldn't be using your comp gun for home defense or your home defense gun for comp unless that's the kind of comp you're running. Does that make sense?
Right.
If you're shooting bullseye competition, if you're shooting accuracy matters competition, then you should probably be running a specific gun for that. Now, if you're running IDPA or some of these other, like a 3-gun, some of these other things, well, then, use your stock gun. And again, use your stock gun. Try not to game the system by changing the trigger out.
Sure.
I've never done any of that stuff. So
you're talking to, I need to come up with a number, because we've talked about this every episode so far about the ridiculous amount of guns that I own. And both of you are on the Dave program. Like, you own as little amount of firearms as you actually think you need.
Yeah, that's
right. We all have a little different number of what we think we need.
Yeah.
But I'm on the, I legitimately probably own 15 Glocks. In fact, I bought a new Glock yesterday from Bob. No joke.
Because
Bob came in with it and he says, I think I want to sell this, and he was going to put it on consignment at the shop. No, I'll just buy it.
Right.
I probably own like 15 Glocks, and I have one with a I got a Zev trigger in one. That's it. Everything is stock.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say that with the white light, I think that's the biggest, white light and dry fire and training.
Yeah, I'd say light. Before night sights, before a laser or any of those things.
Oh, yeah.
You know, how long is your house? You know, how big is your house? Well, you know, more than likely the baddie that's in there, or baddies, depending on the situation, you know, 7 yards, 8 yards, do you really... just a white light, something that you can identify. And I was going to say that to the caveat to that light is what I've learned is, depending on like your background on your wall and your paint, the paint scheme, you know, and stuff, you know, you get a 1,000 lumen light, you could blind yourself.
It's too much. I was just going to ask you, do you think there's a thing as too much light?
I think so. Because if you have a mirror coming back at you,
50% of the people that are listening to this or watching, because we all wanted to see Chad's face, are absolutely thinking that you're wrong right now. The other 50% are thinking that you're right. Now, I think you're right, which means that they're obviously wrong. But yeah, this is one of those argued in the comments, it seems.
And you know what? And I will never tell anybody that they're wrong if they have a 1,000 lumen. That's just me, because
Chad, it's my favorite thing to do.
I know, but I'm the type of guy that's like, hey man, if that's
Dave said, if you were any nicer, my friend,
if that's how you want to roll, then hey, I'm not going to tell you. I'll just tell you my experience, and not that I have a
situation dictates, right?
Yeah, situation.
What I'm going to say is, have you tried it in your house at night?
Right.
Have you tried your light in your house at night, and can you see? Is it blinding to you? Is it, try it before you need it. So if that works for you, use it.
Situation dictates. And when I say, is there such a thing as too much light? Chad's 1,000 lumens might be a little bit too bright for his household and fine for mine. We had mentioned once before, so I live in a pretty ridiculous house. I got a 6,300 square foot house. I need a brighter light, right? We had mentioned that you live in a camper, even in an RV, full time, year round. 1,000 lumens.
But the walls are all matte. They're all tan, so it doesn't light up like a Christmas tree. Right. As it, like Chad said, if you have white walls, if you have white gloss walls in your kitchen, it can be overwhelming a lot. But that's not my case.
Also, the lights that I choose are because I live in a 7-acre wooded area, and even though it might be a little too bright for inside, I might be more worried about some outdoor defense. Of course, then I'm going to go to the rifle. Like, we're getting into the woods a little bit, legitimately and figuratively.
See, that brings me to my philosophy. Well, I'll use 350, 400 inside the house, which means I have to have a certain setup. And if I'm going to go outside the house, I'll have something with 1,000 or brighter. that just means I get another firearm.
Well, I was gonna say,
gotta
this goes
take
back
that
to
light, you know, and I gotta.
You guys are on the I need the least amount of firearms as
Right.
possible, but we all have our this one's for the zombie apocalypse. This
absolutely.
one is for when the Russians invade. This one's for this.
And I will say that on my 9mm, on my 9mm or my 22, depending on use case scenario where I'm at. So if my 9mm is on my bedside and I have my light on that's a 300 that's on there. On my rifle it's a pistol, but on my rifle that's always 1,000. It's always at least 1,000 because outside, and I want that blinding factor as well.
Yeah.
I run a TLR1 HL. I've got 3 of them. I've got one on a Glock, one on a 1911, believe it or not, and which is the nightstand gun at my house. It's the backup nightstand gun, if you will. And then I run one on my PDX. It's the exact same light all the way across the board, but then those are all 1,000 lumens. The HL, the high lumen, high output, whatever that stands for. But I think that 300, that TLR7, that range is in that 300, 400 range is probably the best for most people.
Yeah, that's what I have at home is the TL7.
So you need to go outside. You taking a CZ or are you fighting your way to your rifle?
I'll take my rifle.
Yeah.
I'll take my rifle.
Yeah, the benefit of concealed carry and the benefit of a pistol is that I don't have to sling a rifle everywhere I go.
Correct.
Right? You guys know where most home invasions happen, right?
In the home?
In the home.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a lot easier to carry a Glock with me every day, still holstered while I'm home cooking dinner or whatever. You can take my approach, again, buy all of the guns, stash one within arm's reach of your entire house. Or most people's budget allows them to they just carry the firearm and when you're ready to go to bed, then you put it in the nightstand safe or whatever. Yeah. But my handgun is to fight my way to my rifle. Yeah. I think we all agree on that too. 3 points of contact.
100%.
Yeah, and that's the thing too is if I don't have to, I'm not going outside.
Oh no.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm not chasing you.
Yeah.
No.
I'm only going out there if I have to.
And I am so green to this this topic, I try to be a sponge.
Are you though?
I don't like to say I'm not a know-it-all.
Well, you're not an expert by any means, but did you get that leads into an interesting topic. I'd say the majority of Dave's tactical knowledge, I hesitate to use that word, but I would say came from the military.
Absolutely.
Mine as well. I grew up using firearms as a tool in the country to shoot whatever, pest might have been around.
Right.
And a little bit of target practice here and there. The majority of your firearm experience did not come from the military.
Yeah, it's after them.
In the Coast Guard.
In the military, yeah.
A somewhat non-combatant military branch.
We have jobs.
Oh, you can, dude,
Yeah,
the Coast Guard will really mess you up if you let them.
Yeah, we have jobs, or they have jobs.
The Coast Guard has snipers.
Yeah, I don't know that much about them.
Yeah, no, they do. They came through the sniper school in Benning.
Yeah, I mean,
they would go and shoot competition down there, and they're good.
Yeah, my lack of knowledge, or I should say my.
Yeah, that wasn't what you did.
Yeah, no,
But the Coast Guard has snipers. They got guys that run like 50 cals, and so they've got some firearms experts.
Yeah, and then they have. I don't even remember the rate now. Gosh, I got to start taking my ginkgo or something like that. My memory.
Is that what it is?
I thought that's what it was. But anyways, squirrel moment. No, they have jobs that's what they do is they train with firearms and do boardings and
so
that stuff. I don't know,
That wasn't your thing though.
No.
So the majority of your fire experience came from.
Yeah, it was after.
From where? Were you a gun guy when you were in the military? You were stationed here and there and everywhere.
You know what? My life was busy enough to where I didn't really. I mean, I had a couple of firearms,
sure.
Shotgun.
Yeah, you were, a novice, if you will.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, but most of it came with, when I got out, I was like, man, stuff's going on in the world that I don't care about. But I also I'm not going to rely on somebody to protect me. So
you're our normal customer.
Yeah, I need to take the responsibility and learn some things. And I probably asked the questions that some people don't want to ask because they're too intimidated or embarrassed or whatever. but not me. I'm like, hey, well, how does this work? Or what would you do with this? Or,
I can confirm.
You know?
Not afraid to ask questions.
Yeah.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing.
And that's the whole thing is, you know, I was ignorant to a lot of things, but wanting to learn, you know, be a sponge, it made it that much quicker to.
Where did you sponge from? Where I mean, how did you learn what you know? You're a pretty knowledgeable guy now. How did you learn what you know?
Videos on YouTube. There was a couple of channels that I've been watching for a while, and some of the questions that, you know, I didn't think to ask, they were answering. You know what I mean? It's like, oh,
you don't know what you don't know.
Like an aha moment or whatever. And and then I don't remember dry fire. You know, I kind of that was kind of engraved upstairs, and and you know, now my philosophy is working here is part of the money that I make. I save up and I go get training from people that know a lot more than I do. Well, and that's the only way you're going to learn.
And you just recently, you've taken quite a bit of courses. You've been with Cross Rifles for 3 years. It doesn't seem that long, honestly.
No.
I forget.
But in doing,
sometimes.
but you know, certifying as an instructor and stuff, that was a pretty big step.
And the most basic of courses. Well, you know, we'll talk. For people that don't know, Cross Rifles started by me teaching people concealed carry classes.
Yep.
And in Ohio, at least, and in all the majority of the states, one of the things that at the time was required was that you would be an NRA certified instructor.
Yeah.
And the NRA certified instructor program, as much as I don't want to say it can be a joke, it can be a joke. It can be there's a lot of people that get certified and maybe they shouldn't. It's not a difficult certification to seek out. I'm an NRA training counselor. So the training counselor is the one that certifies instructors. And I'm a little bit more strict. I actually make people take the tests. We get up in front of the class and role play, and we go over different course goals.
Right.
I actually go through what you're supposed to do to certify an instructor. And you came and got certified by me in one of our courses.
Yep.
And that led to the NRA certified instructor, which there's a lot of knowledge in there if you really, especially once you start teaching it. I've always thought if you want to learn something really well, go teach it. Because then you pick up all of the like the 5 fundamentals and the basics, and Chad won't toot his own horn, but Chad's our lead instructor here at Cross Rifles now. You run all of our training. You schedule the CCW class. I don't even teach anymore. I think I'm going to do
You need to do a guest appearance.
I'm going to do a comeback tour. I thought about it this morning, actually. I'm going to do a special taught by Luke concealed carry class because I need to keep my skills going.
Do you want to borrow my Christmas story bunny suit?
Absolutely, I do now. Do you have one?
I do.
Oh,
I do. I volunteer for the Salvation Army at Walmart.
Yeah.
You know, and I stand out there in my Christmas story bunny suit with my Oakleys on.
Okay, well, Chad, let's make that happen.
Okay. I got marching orders.
Well, I had asked you the other day. I texted you and said, hey, when's our next concealed carry class?
28th.
I own the store. I don't even know. Right. And so that's the thing that you do now. You went from the guy that just wanted to be a sponge of knowledge to you're scheduling and teaching these classes all on your own now, that's a big step. And you learn a lot doing that.
Yeah, the main thing is you do it, and you find your weak points, and you try, as an instructor, you try to build on how to relate knowledge to the student.
It's difficult
to where they grasp it. You know, I don't want to. You know, none of us in here would go learn it. Now do it. You know, that's not how we operate.
No, you actually have to get them to understand it.
Yeah, you have to, you know.
The best thing about being an instructor is that you don't know what you don't know. Some of those people will ask you questions that you don't know, which makes you learn it. You didn't know. I didn't know I needed to know the answer to that. And that's a legitimate good question.
That happened to me in our first class.
Yeah. And you know, a good instructor is going to say, I don't know. I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah.
Instead of there's some out there that would bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you recently took some other training as well.
Yep.
You traveled down to the southern part of the United States.
Yeah, I went to Tennessee, Valor Ridge, and loved it.
Got a great pistol defense class, right?
Yeah, it was. I'm actually going down in November to take the second half of that first pistol class, and I was just. If you ask my wife, she probably, I came back to the room that night after the first day, and if you ask her, she was like, he wouldn't shut up about it. I was just.
You talked about it for 2 hours. You told her everything.
I was just
tried to relate all of the information to her.
It was just an awesome. I don't have the words to say for what it was just awesome. It was just.
Interesting point. Your wife is kind of a gun person.
She has been. It took me 25 years for her to fire her first firearm.
I think your wife is as much of a gun person as our wives. I told my wife the other day, one of the downfalls about having a husband like myself, I actually think I used you as an example. I know I used Dave, because I think we were even talking about the podcast. One of the downfalls of having a husband like us is our wives depend on us to protect them. I know that's the way it is in my house. My wife looks at me as the guy that's going to get it done when it needs to get done, but I'm not there all the time. So I think that's a negative. Yeah. But I think all of our wives are pretty much in that situation.
Yeah, very much.
I would say, yeah. I would.
But they're all gun people. All of our wives have their own firearms. They all have concealed carry permits that, they may or may not carry as much as we want them to, but for the majority of the time, they're in charge of their own self-defense. What was that? Took you 25 years. Was she just wasn't interested, scared of guns?
I to be honest with you,
and again, you weren't a huge
I wasn't.
You
it wasn't part of it. It wasn't really part of the part of the household, And then we just happened to be on the West Coast, stationed out there, and I said, "Hey, you want to go to the range? I got a range down here," and that's kind of when I started getting into it. I want to say 2010-ish.
That's when you got your first tinfoil hat.
Yeah, well, it was probably half there. I was probably cut,
okay.
He had a tinfoil beanie at that point.
Yes.
The tinfoil was quite small, but
what happened?
And we went there. I run out of. I have to.
You started reading and watching more YouTube.
I gotta get a couple of sleeves of tinfoil. No,
tinfoil armor now.
No, and we went there, and knowing little that I did, they had a 226, SIG 226 there to rent. We fired it, and I don't know how much ammo we shot, but my missus is like, "Oh, I kind of like this."
I would say you bought one at some point, didn't you?
At one point I did,
yeah.
I have my reasons why I got rid of it, and none of it was because it was a bad firearm. That's not the point. It was just my philosophy on how I was going to use it. And
Chad, you have way more discipline when it comes to selling firearms that you don't think you're going to use than almost anybody I know.
I
do for real. Because when I decide that I'm not going to use a firearm for a specific purpose anymore, I put it in its case.
It goes in the safe.
I put it in the safe, and I go look at it a couple times a year.
Right.
You, on the other hand, will fully utilize that whole. I paid a certain amount of money for this. I could probably maybe even get a little bit more.
Yeah, I had like 5 guitars at one time.
Yeah.
And 4 of them collected dust.
Yeah.
And that's how I treat. I'm not gonna.
Well,
I'm not going to.
I wonder if this has something to do with it. 27 years of military service, moving around, you got to kind of keep your stuff to a minimum.
Pack light, freeze at night, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
we just bought our first when we moved back here to Northwest Ohio. Was the first time that we bought a new couch since '98.
What did you do? You just buy it? Did you move the same couch, or did you just sell a couch and then move
we used
the
same couch, or if we found a couch, that was in really, really good shape, and they were like, $100.
Yeah,
done.
Yeah, so no need to move it.
I mean, because you do these military moves, you lose stuff.
Oh yeah, and the movers are horrible,
and they break stuff.
And you lose stuff, and you're like, I ain't gonna spend,
have a $5,000
on a
bedroom set
on a Lazy Boy.
Right.
I'll take the $50 one.
I have a lot of that too. There's just certain things I will just buy. We've had the same couch for years.
Right.
When my kids are little, I'm like, we don't need to get a new one. Right. My wife wants a new one. No, don't need to. I think a lot of that comes from that.
You bring up guitars, and I've been a musician for a long time, and I've played the same bass since 2003.
Yep.
I would save so much money if I could adopt some of that to my firearms collection.
And
I bought a new gun yesterday.
I'll try one here or there, whatever, and it doesn't do anything better than the one I have. So why would I spend the money on it? You know?
Yeah.
That brings us back to, you asked the question of, what firearm would you own? Mm-hmm. Working here allows me to say that's not for me. Not that it's a bad firearm. Mm-hmm. It's just not for me.
No, you can sign a lot of guns through here. You pick a gun up, you shoot a couple hundred rounds through it, see if you like it.
Yeah.
And then you're able to sell it here on the sales floor.
Yeah.
It's way easier for you to do that than if you had to go dump it at a gun show or find somebody to buy it.
Yeah, and that's like we say, there's a firearm out there for everybody. Mm-hmm. The key is finding that firearm for that person.
Well, I'm going to ask you another question. I want to ask all of the employees here, since we're on the employee series. Customer comes in, says, hey, it's crazy. The world's been a really weird place. I think I need a gun. I never thought I would need a gun. It's their first gun. What's the first question you ask them?
The first question?
You just met this person.
Have they ever fired a firearm before?
Interesting. We didn't even come up with that the other day. That's why we have you on here, Chad. So have you ever fired a gun? Well, let's role play this. Have you ever fired a gun?
Nope.
No, you're the sales guy.
Oh, I'm the salesperson.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Because I want to get your.
Have you ever
take
fired a firearm?
Yeah, 20 years ago. My dad taught me how to shoot when I was a teenager.
What'd you use?
We had a shotgun type thing that he used to shoot.
Shotgun thing. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what kind of firearm are you looking at?
I don't know. You
want it for just to go out and plink once in a while? Do you want it for like all purpose where you can carry it, where you can,
I'm a little bit worried about like home defense. If somebody were to break into the house, I've got the kids.
Okay. So you have kids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So we're going to have to talk about storage.
I can cut you off there. I wanted to see what that first question is. What do you think you're going to use it for? Yeah. Your real first question is, have you ever fired a gun? We talked about experience level the other day, but we didn't think it was that important. But that's a really good question for somebody coming in to get their first one.
Because the last thing you want to do is say, hey, shoot this,
here's a 45-70 lever gun.
58, this is what you need. Yeah, you know what I mean? And holy shnikes, I don't want this
airweight 357 Magnum.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, or
an 44.
Or an airweight 44 with barrel
loads
get the job
in it. Done. What is that Taurus? It's super lightweight. Yeah, once.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll blow the guy's left arm off if you can hit him, but if you don't hit him, you ain't going to get the second chance.
Would I say to Adam, take this thing from me?
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's right. Adam had that. What was it?
It was I believe it was a Smith Airweight 44 Magnum.
It's made of scandium or that weird super lightweight metal.
Super lightweight, yeah.
And it's a 44 Magnum.
Yep. And
I wasn't at the range that day. You guys went to the range together. Yeah. You weren't there either, were you, Dave?
Yeah.
No. So they went to the range, and you took one shot.
Two
shots.
I was like, you know what? I'll shoot this thing.
You didn't learn your lesson on the first one.
Bear loads in it.
Right, yeah.
Hard
cast grizzly bear loads.
Right, and Adam was like, hey, this has bear loads in it. And I'm like, whatever, that's cool. Shows my lack of knowledge right there. Yeah. To see a lightweight gun with something that will put down a grizzly, maybe I should take caution.
For when you want to taste the recoil.
Yeah, flipping shot that thing. What the front yard? That was nasty. I'll do another one. Can't be that bad, Right?
Had to have been me.
Try again.
Yeah.
Shot it again.
Put your dentist on speed dial.
Yeah. And I brought the firearm down. I grabbed it by the handle where I had it like this. And I was like, take this thing from me. Yeah. I don't want to ever shoot that again. But that's what happens when people shoot a firearm for the first time. Mm-hmm. It scares them.
Well, it is scary. Mm-hmm. Right? It's loud.
Well, just that. Mm-hmm. The whole violence of it,
everything. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Yeah. You send a certain amount of energy that way, you are going to get a certain amount of energy this way.
It was just the way it works. Now you put it in a steel frame Smith or whatever. I don't really know revolvers that much. Yeah. That's one of my lack of knowledge that I need to improve on. But we'd
probably be a little bit more okay.
Yeah, be a little bit more okay.
Still not something. My wife is tiny. Your wife is very small. Mm-hmm. I have no interest in handing her a 44 Magnum. I mentioned the other day, has your wife ever shot a shotgun, Dave?
Oh yeah. She's good at shooting.
I can't remember if she has or not, to be honest with you.
My wife has never shot a shotgun. And nor has she ever shot a large framed pistol like that. 357. I used to have a Ruger Blackhawk, full steel frame, right? A 6-inch barrel. She loved shooting that. Single action, nice little trigger and pretty hefty. But like 44, 50 AE, any of those crazy rounds, she's never shot. And I would be hesitant to hand one to her. She's 120 pounds, right? 5'4" or something like that.
Right.
And as strong as she may be, that's a pretty small frame to handle some large recoil like that.
Yeah.
Same with, I'd love to get her. She listened to the episode where I said, "You've never shot a shotgun." She goes, "Yeah, I did." She's like, "Yeah, in the garage at one time." Oh, that was an AR-15, dear. Right, that didn't have a silencer, because her experience with AR-15s is they're all silenced,
right?
So they're easy to shoot, right, because they're not loud and they don't have a lot of recoil. And then the one time I gave her one without a silencer, she thought it was a big gun. Nope, same thing. Right.
That's the great thing about silencers. Is
one of the many great things about silencers.
If you are noise. What I'm looking for. If you let noise affect you,
sensitive.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sensitive. I gotta remember these words. I
remember these
simple. Yeah.
Right. Write that down.
Put them on my Palm Pilot.
Sensitive.
The last time I took my missus out to shoot, we shot suppressed, and then I took the suppressor off, and she was
way
like,
different.
She was like, "That's obnoxiously loud."
We had mentioned that sometimes in this industry you have to say things that sound sexist, and that maybe might not be, because again, there is a difference between men and women in certain things.
Right.
And one of the things that I've noticed is, and I want to be careful that I'm not categorizing here, because a lot of the times we are subject to women that don't have a lot of experience with firearms. Okay. So when I'm talking about a very basic class, somebody, we teach the basics class, men and women alike in that class are usually not very experienced with firearms. And what I have seen is in those situations with an equal amount of experience, almost none, women seem to be more sound sensitive than men. And I don't know why. And that sound sensitivity equates to thinking that it's a larger recoil. I did not experience that in the military. Now, I was an infantry guy. I was an infantry drill sergeant. So I didn't have a lot of experience. And I was stationed at Benning before we had females in the infantry. So I did not have a lot of experience training females, but I was still a military instructor for a long period of time, so I had a little bit.
Right.
I've just noticed it in our classes that it seems like the louder it is, the more a lot of women will relate that to it must have had larger recoil.
Right.
And that's not how it works.
Well, and I think it's the overall visceral experience of a gun going off in your hand. It all adds up, the physical, the auditory, the flash of light, just everything just adds up.
Well, we can all agree. So if we're going to get into this, the Venn diagram of the male, female part of the human species, right? So there is an overlap. There are very masculine women. There are very feminine men. So there's an overlap there. But for the most part, I would say like us three would qualify for masculine men, right? Us three are probably going to have a more hand strength than the average woman. And so that's probably one of the things that equates to we don't feel as much recoil because we just have more upper body strength. It's just kind of the way we're built. And I don't know, maybe that has to do with why they relate. I don't know the answer to it. It's just a thing that I've seen. And again, in my basic classes, did not see it a lot in the military. And that's probably because many of the times, when I was an NCOIC of a qualification range, a pistol qualification range, the majority of the time we had officers there, sometimes higher enlisted, and they'd already done this dozens and dozens of times. We're talking about people that have been in the military for years. So I did not see any difference at that point. Right. I don't know if it's that beginning thing. I just don't know. Right. But it's just something that I've noticed. And my wife is the same way. Yep. It goes right back to, she thought that AR that was unsuppressed, and ARs are very loud. 5.56 is an incredibly loud round. She thought that was, a shotgun, a big gun.
Right. Yeah, and I can understand that.
I'm not the one to put a 12 gauge in her hand. Like I'd start her out 22 to 410 to 20 to, low recoil, those little Aguila mini shells. I mean, I'd go the whole route because I'm not interested in rocking her back 3 feet.
Well, because at any point in time, she'd just go, I'm done.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm not doing that shit.
We're gonna find the level.
Yeah, we're not gonna.
And then we're gonna stop there.
Yep. Yeah.
I brought that 4570 home the other day because I want to kill a woodchuck with it. Oh, by the way, I saw the woodchuck, and I went to get the gun, but he saw me moving. He was probably 50, 60 yards away, and I was not at a point where I was ready to see a woodchuck. I was just walking outside. I'm like, shit.
You didn't have your ghillie suit on?
Right. I didn't have my ghillie suit. I was not armed.
I mean, pajamas. They're the same thing.
The same thing for me. But I wasn't armed, so I had to go back, and he ran away. But yeah, so I took that 4570 home, and there's no way that I'm just going to hand that to her. A lever gun with no moving parts, so you feel all the recoil. But I'm rambling now about recoil.
You'd do that if it was one of your buddies, though, wouldn't you?
Oh, in a heartbeat. I would hand that to Chad and be like, here, Chad, check this. Check out how low recoil this thing is. Snicker, snicker, snicker.
I don't think, as far as me, I don't think I've ever shot anything larger than like an M1 Garand.
Yeah, they got a little bit of boost to them. Yeah.
I think that's
a big, heavy gun, too.
M107, baby.
That's right. Yeah.
That's a blast,
well, you've
man.
shot way bigger things because you used to make things go boom.
I used to make howitzers.
Yes. Yeah. You've shot the biggest of all guns.
The real howitzers too.
Yeah.
The 119er, the little one that you actually sit on and fire, and that's.
I'm actually slightly jealous.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Biggest gun I've ever shot had to have been the Mark 19. There's a comedian, and I need to look up
What's
the
a
bits.
Mark 19?
Mark 19 is the automatic grenade launcher.
There you go.
It's a machine grenade launcher. Shoots 40 mic.
Oh, yeah. I know
1,500 yards.
40 millimeter grenades, high explosive grenades. Well, and all of the stuff.
So pretty much you put in the right area, you're going to take care
so I had
of whatever you're...
It's actually my recruiter. Funniest story about the Mark 19 is my recruiter was a former infantry drill sergeant. So everybody that says, my recruiter lied to me, they said it was going to be easy. My recruiter did the exact opposite. He told me how much it was going to suck, and then I was going to be a little bitch, right? He's like, you're going to cry like a little bitch in basic training. I didn't, by the way, but man, I really wanted to a couple times, right? So, but he just prepared me, and he was in the first Gulf War. He was in 91, right? And he talked about how, and have you ever seen the movie? I think it's called Three Kings. It's got,
I know what you're talking about.
It's got Marky Mark, I think, is in
Mark
it.
Wahlberg
and
George Clooney.
George Clooney, right? Yeah. And he is not the only one that has told me this. He goes, that is the best representation of that invasion. Like, are we shooting? I don't know. Are they shooting? And that's kind of how it was. Well, they rolled up on this hill and they were going to go into the city, and they were like, well, what do we do? Because this is the first real desert war that we've had. And they were like, I don't know, but like, we got these Mark 19s on these Humvees. Let's just lob some rounds in there. He said, and when you decide to do that, you just keep going. He said they had like 4 Mark 19s lined up, and they just leveled a city block.
How many rounds is that thing?
Oh, like good. It's a belt fed.
Right, belt fed.
It's a belt fed grenade launcher. That's all you really need to know.
40 rounds in a chain.
And it's, it's a dun 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 dun. That's about the
cadence,
speed,
there,
the cadence of that. So it's, and you got 4 of them lined up.
Right.
You're gonna do some damage.
Well,
but that's the best story I've ever heard about the Mark 19. Is if we didn't know what to do, so we just shot the whole city block with grenades. Maybe I probably shouldn't tell some of these stories. There's a time elapsed where whatever somebody was supposed to do, they're not going to get in trouble. He's long retired. All right, maybe he's passed away. I don't know where he is. I don't even know his name.
I can't remember his name.
Right. Yeah, and see, those are some of the things that I have.
Yeah, I don't know. The Coast Guard probably doesn't have Mark 19s. You guys got 50 cals, Ma Deuce.
Yeah, I don't know what.
Yeah, they shoot all the drug runners down
They
Miami.
have both, I think.
Do they?
I think they do. I know they have 50 cals, but I'm pretty sure they have Mark 19s too.
Yeah, on some of their small boats, I know they have 50 cals, and they can put up was it a 240? Is that what?
Oh, yeah. You guys are rocking 240s.
Yeah,
back in the day, M60s.
And then on the cutters, I'm not sure. They've got some pretty big barreled guns on those, but I have no idea.
It wasn't your thing. The Coast Guard tried to recruit me. They tried to recruit all of us. It would have been 06. It was my first contract was up. and I was looking to re-sign, and I wasn't sold on staying in the Army. I was maybe going to get out, maybe stay in, maybe do some stuff. And the Coast Guard was very actively at the time looking for soldiers, both Marine Corps, Marines and soldiers, so Marine and Army, with firearms experience. And at the time, I had already been an Army drill sergeant and a firearms instructor. And they wanted people to come down to Miami and run guns on the boats and shoot the gun runners. Yeah. I was all in. I was ready to sign. Just show me where to sign. You know, I had death before dishonor infantry tattooed all the way across my back because I'm that guy, right? You know, U.S. Army flag tattoo, and I'm like, okay, I'll put a Coast Guard on the other arm. I don't care. And my ex-wife, my wife at the time, she was not interested in moving to Miami, so she kiboshed it. I know, right? Well, and if I would have, life would have been different.
10 degrees in Northwest Ohio in January.
Yeah, that's it. I moved back to Ohio. And that lasted all of about 18 months before we were divorced, and I went back to the Army. But
we had stuff. They have stuff like that. Man, I don't know how to answer because I don't know. I mean, I was a rotor head, you know. I turned wrenches on helicopters.
So what is the biggest gun you've ever shot?
The biggest gun I ever shot? Probably that M1 Garand.
Yeah, that was it.
That's probably the biggest I've
It's a big gun. I mean, that's bigger gun than a lot of people have shot.
I shot the 1903, the sniper bolt action sniper rifle or whatnot.
Yeah.
So I shot both of those at the range, and my reaction to that 1903 was the same reaction I had to that 44.
Yeah.
I shot one round. I said, "Can I shoot that M1 Garand again?" Because that thing just shot so smooth.
Well, you've got springs. You've got mechanical items eating up your recoil.
Right, but it was heavy, and that's what we had in boot camp was an M1 Garand. I think
God, you're old.
I think the barrel had lead in it.
Yeah, you guys didn't actually shoot.
Yeah, we didn't shoot them.
You probably qualified with like 22s, didn't you?
The M16.
Oh, you did qualify with an M16.
Yeah, we shot M16s and 45s.
I know, like the Navy qualifies with 22 sometimes.
Yeah,
I don't even shoot the full 5.56 223 thing.
And I think the range. I think we were there 2 days, maybe 3 days.
They probably do that so they can qualify on boats easier.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they absolutely do. They have a bunch of conversions. I don't know that any of the other branches do.
I just remember duck walking back from the range to the barracks carrying that M1.
Really? That was the day they decided to be. What is Coast Guard basic training difficult? I think everybody that does it. Is it a very physical, difficult thing?
You're talking 88 when I went through, and it was. I
would think so.
It had been. It was just as.
Yeah, they were yelling just like
the Marine Corps.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, they were just as mean.
And actually, my company commanders. We had a sister company, and both of them were prior Marine Corps.
Oh, good God! So you actually had a tough. Like they actually were assholes.
They intimidated the heck out of you.
Yeah. They looked and act like Marines.
Oh yeah. Especially the guy, the company commander in the sister company. He was like 6'5", and he wore those John Lennon round sunglasses, and he had a really raspy voice. And
Marine Corps voice.
Yeah,
they practice that. I mean,
it's a thing.
And even my company commander, man, they say something, and you were like.
Well, I will tell you, there's a reason that they do it, believe it or not, especially the Marine DIs. It's supposedly it ruins your voice less. I can tell you from experience, and you'll hear on this podcast, my voice cracks quite a bit, and it did not. Of course, it did when I was going through puberty, but it did not through most of my adult life. And I ruined my vocal cords being a drill sergeant. Just having to just push your voice out, even speaking from your diaphragm and being able to, actually, the very first thing you do in drill sergeant school, at least the very first thing that we did in 2004 when I went through drill sergeant school was the drill sergeant leader would stand 100 yards away and give you a sheet of commands, and you would have to say the commands in a specific order, and they had to understand what you were saying. So you have to be able to really push your voice out there, but you also yell. Like you just get to the point where you're using your throat and your vocal cords to yell instead of your diaphragm at any time, and it ruins your voice. I swear that I ruined my vocal cords. Well, those DIs, they got that raspy, and I can't do it because I was in the Army. Yeah, they've got that thing. It supposedly protects your vocal cords, but then they all just talk like that forever. They get that way, and then like any other mannerism that you pick up for enough time, it's just the way you are now.
Yeah, my attitude in boot camp was I'll just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And then there were times that I was like, why are you yelling, man? I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
It wasn't for me. It was for other people.
It's the yelling. It's the yelling to yell.
It was just kind of like, dude, I'm right here.
Yeah. You got to go through.
It's kind of my attitude.
Well, I'm sure plenty of drill sergeant stories will pop up, but we used to watch Full Metal Jacket before we would do pickup day.
I saw that in boot camp.
Yeah. The night before we do pickup day, all the drill sergeants would get together and drink whiskey.
It was on base.
So we could be extra hungover and pissed off the next day and watch Full Metal Jacket.
It was on base Liberty. We watched Full Metal Jacket.
Did that movie come out when you were in, or was that just you went out and watched?
I don't know when that movie came out. I just know that they were showing.
I think it's like 81.
It was a.
Yeah.
It was.
I think it was like 81.
I thought it was like 87.
Well, we'll have to. Hey. We all have computers in our pockets right now. I'm not going to Google it, but I did make you keep your. My phone's been ringing this whole time. Somebody's trying to call me. It's in my pocket. But
yeah, that. But I saw that on Base Liberty, and I was like, holy moly!
I got to meet the gunny a couple of times, which is a big deal if you were a drill sergeant or a drill instructor, or I guess in the military. He was a pretty iconic kind of guy, and especially my time in the firearms industry. He was Glock's representative for a while.
Oh, Arlie to meet him.
Yeah. So I got to meet him a couple of times in the firearms industry. It's just cool.
Yeah.
It's him and Jerry Mitchellek, probably my two, and I've got to meet a lot of like cool dudes, some YouTubers, and what's Tim Green Beret fought MMA, Tim Kennedy.
Tim Kennedy.
And he's cool, but like the gunny and Jerry Mitchellek, those are probably the two cool ones. But anyways, I'm rambling because we are over time.
Oh, are we?
Yeah, I told you it wouldn't take long.
This is kind of.
Yeah, we can sit here and do this for a couple hours, right?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
This is all we do out there on the sales floor. We stand here and bullshit about stuff. I mean, the majority of the time here is spent, so anyways, what does your home loadout look like now? Right. I mean, that's all we do here. We wrote down, Chad's looking at the board. We wrote down a bunch of shit to talk about, and we talked about almost none of it.
Almost none of it. Look at that.
We touched some of those letters.
How to pick a gun.
Right. Yeah, we got on some of it.
We talked about that, but yeah, that's.
Dave, do you have anything to add before we wrap it up?
I love working with Chad.
Me too.
I do. He when I hear his voice when he walks in and says hi to somebody, it just like puts a smile on my face.
Releases the serotonin.
Yep. You're just the nicest guy.
You guys are too kind.
You're the nicest guy.
Oh, dude, for real though, Chad. A lot of people enjoy Chad being an employee here. You've always got a spot here as long as you want it, and we're gonna have you back on the podcast. I'd like to do. A series of guests of employees that work here, and we'll talk about, I don't know, what our first dog was the next time we come on. I don't know. We'll randomize some shit up. You had a poodle?
His name was Prince. He was white like your puppy dog.
Yeah, Henry.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to have Henry on too.
Yeah,
we're gonna get Henry on the podcast.
Have Henry on.
It's so funny because Chad's like big, and his first dog was a poodle, and I'm like small, and my first dog was a Saint Bernard.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
I wonder if there's there's something to look into on that. You know what I mean?
You say I'm compensating for something? Is that what you're saying?
No, I wouldn't even go that way. No.
You do have a considerably large truck, I'm just saying.
I do.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
On that note, we're talking about Dave's compensating truck. We're going to get out of here. And
that's interesting because you all have big V8s and I got to be 6.
You got the smallest truck. Yeah, you're the biggest dude here. You got the smallest truck. I got a big, massive. My truck's bigger than Dave, so I don't know what that says. But
you guys are cool.
I don't know. I had to be the one to pump myself up.
More.
Absolutely. I'm a little guy, dude. Yeah. You know what they say about little gloves and little shoes? Or little gloves and little feet. That's the joke. You know what they say about little gloves? Little hands, little gloves. Anyways, all right. Since I've ruined that joke, we'll see you guys later. Thank you.
Peace out.